Dear viewers and panelists, welcome to our fourth webinar on long and flat steel technology. The stress will be more on technology today because we will discuss about long and flat steel technology today. As you are aware that technology plays a key role in keeping pace with the global competition and standard. And with this recent pandemic, this coronavirus pandemic, it has really created a big impact in all the industry. And once this phase is over, the manufacturing industry will face much bigger challenge if we don't have the technology, innovation, and creativity in place. So with these few words, I would request our chairman, Mr. Shu, here till the end of the program. And I must thank Mr. Banerjee for and he's a veteran in this industry for more than 40 years, Mr. Banerjee, if I'm not wrong. And he's also
yes,
a former and also a former DG of INSRAG. And before I hand over to Mr. Banerjee, I would thank Steel Authority and MS MACO for sponsoring this webinar. So, over to Banerjee.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Mohanty, and thank you, Angan, for organizing this webinar. This is the fourth in the series, and we have already had a very good and well-attended webinars in the earlier sessions. So I welcome all the panelists, Mr. Satyajit Mahapatra, Dr. Ramin Datta, who must be joining us a little while, and Mr. Arijit Biswas of IMS MACO. Before I go into the technical session, let me say a few words about the long and flat technology that Mr. Mohanty has referred to. In India, it's a developing country, and therefore a lot of investment and construction activities are the major area of steel use. So if we see the last year also, about 52% of our total steel are belonging to the long products, and about 48% belonging to the flat products. Now, so far as the technology is concerned, it all emanates from the technology that our country has been operating for steel making, which is basically BF route, electric arc furnace route, or induction furnace route, and also a little bit of open hearth steel making, which is no longer there now. Been well established, and almost all the major steel producers are having this facility. They are basically followed by the LD converter, which leads to ingot casting or continuous casting. Now, of course, ingot casting is nearly abandoned, so it is 100% continuous casting. So after this cast is there, then we get a slab for flat products and blooms and billets for long products. Then comes the rolling technology of converting the cast steel into the finished shaped products. Basically, the rolling means the deforming of the metal by passing it between the rolls. And only in our country, internationally, the rolling mill is basically known by the product it makes. For instance, we have billet mill, bloom mill, slabbing mill, or so many finishing mills like and they are known by the product. Cold rolling mill, wire rod mill, plate mill, etc. There can be both hot rolling and cold rolling. And basically, long products are the product of built-in heat treatment process. That is, most of the modern rolling mills have adopted this. And in the flat product area, we have a lot of downstream cold roll sheet coil, and then goes down to galvanized, color coated electrical steel sheet, which has also can be made through hot rolling process. Then tin plates and pipes. Over the years, the flat producing mill has have to adopt various technical facilities like process automation, gauge control, because the flat product user segments are mostly OEMs, surface finish, good surface finish, and as well as the rolling tolerances. On the other hand, the long products, which are predominated by TMT bar, now reinforcement bar, which is the current consumption is about nearly about 40 million ton in our country, and it is on rising. Then followed by wire rod. Our country can boast of producing various special grade wire rods, cold leading quality and other qualities, high carbon and special alloy wire rod. And then we have got a structural. The newest addition in the structural arena is the parallel flange beam, the universal rolling beam. And that has really changing the face of construction market by using either light gauge steel, light gauge parallel flange, or medium or flange beam in the multi-storied building also. So as and when the requirement of the market changes, the rolling capabilities of the steel plants also cater to those needs. In spite of our almost self-sufficient in long products, but still, if you see the imports, it is still coming in special grade wire rods, even some of the tied up projects which are importing TMT bar and also structurals. At products, there are some indigenous non-availability, particularly in the electrical steel section. There is indigenous availability, no indigenous availability of CRGO. Hopefully, with the ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel coming in Indian market, this product and JSW is also very much along with JFE. They are also trying to bring out this product. Maybe in the next 1 year time, we may see CRGO, which will fulfill the requirement of the. Similarly, tin plate. I hope the indigenous capacity will enable the country to put a stop to the defective tin plate waste, which India has been importing substantially in the past few years. And pipes, the overriding priority of the oil and gas sector for going in more specialized grade of API grade more than X70. That is the current demand of the country. And with the transportation of gas and transportation of water becoming so much important, where the high performance pipes will be very much needed. So with these words, I will now ask panelists to start the technical session. Our first speaker is Mr. Satyajit Mahapatra, a very close friend of mine. I know Satyajit for so many years. He has more than 25 years of experience in the industry. Currently, he is designated in ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel India as head technical marketing and application engineering. He has been associated with formerly Essar Steel for the last 14 years and also worked in various integrated steel plants, including Tata Steel and Ispat, Dolvi. Metallurgical engineering from MNIT Jaipur and completed his postgraduate diploma in steel technology from IIT Kharagpur. His professional interests include development and commercialization of steel for various application segments. He has been a speaker and panel member and in national and international conferences. And I still remember fondly the various sessions we in SDAG had spent with Satyajit regarding the taken by the Essar Steel. So with these words, I introduce Satyajit Mahapatra and invite him and request him to start his presentation. Satyajit, please.
Thank you, sir. It was in a elaborate description of you. And I also thank you for the kind of efforts you have put in last so many years, almost 40, more than 40 years in the steel industries. And as the Director General of NISDAC, you have also contributed a lot to the entire industries. Thank you, sir. Angan, if you can, I can share my presentation. Is it okay? Is it visible now?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, good afternoon to you all. In fact, the topic is flat steel technology. And what I will be trying to cover in this presentation is that how the industries have changed over a period of time. As Mr. Banerjee has rightly said, that all the industries, all this hot strip mill, cold rolling mill, they are known by the products that they manufacture. In fact, if you slightly go back to 20 years back, steel was considered as a commodity product. But today it's not so. It has a lot of changes have happened, and it is all because the requirements of the customers have gone up. They have become very, very stringent, and that has forced all the manufacturers to produce steel meeting to the customer's requirement. So what I thought it is important that when you talk about flat steel technology, it is important to have a linkage with the kind of products that is currently being used for the various application segments. Once you have a proper linkage to the product, then only we can visually appreciate that why do you need such technology in steel or steel making or hot rolling or whatever process that you have. So this is very, very important to understand. So in my brief presentation, I'll be covering the steel scenario in the country today. What is the capability that as far as ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel is concerned, what capability we have, what are the strengths, and what are the various application segments that it covers, and how it is linkage, how it has a linkage to the entire segment or entire technology. If you talk about the steel scenario, India is second in the crude steel production of steel. And as far as apparent finished steel consumption is concerned, India is also number 2. So definitely we have progressed a lot. But what has happened to the per capita steel consumption? We are at the very low level of 74. And compared to the industrial world standard of 229, we are at very low level, which essentially means that we have to go a long way in meeting the requirements. And if you analyze the entire steel consumptions, in fact, 62% of the total steel is used in the construction sectors, and around automotive is around 10%, and 3% is in packaging. Then around railways also consumes 3%, and the engineering industry consumes close to 22%. As far as ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel is concerned, ArcelorMittal is a joint venture where ArcelorMittal holds 60%, Nippon Steel holds 40%. And definitely there is a India growth. India is the fastest growing large economy, second largest steel producers. India's per capita consumption of steel is about 1/3 of the global average, so which is definitely a long way to go. India's target, as far as the national steel policy is concerned, we have to achieve 300 million ton by 2030. So definitely this gives a very wide room for us to think how we can really achieve. And this is where the technology, the webinar of flat technology and long technology will definitely hold a key. Coming to the entire process flow. Now, when you talk about the technology, I'll just give an example of how what the process that we have in AMNS and how this is really helping the technology. When you talk about the beneficiation of iron ore, we have our beneficiation plant in this place called Kirandul. And we have got a pelletization plant in Vizag. Now, the Kirandul to Vizag, the distance is almost 267 kilometers, which is connected through a slurry pipeline. This is nothing but a technology. Can you ever imagine? This was not today. It was conceptualized almost 20 years back. And the slurry pipelines and the transportation becomes very easy, and the raw material, that is iron ore fines in slurry form, is transported to the plant. And after pelletization, it comes to Hazira. From Vizag to Hazira, it comes by sea route. Today, a lot of discussions are happening for transportation through sea route, but it was happening before, almost I can say 15-20 years back. So this is how the technology has advanced. It is not only in the manufacturing, but in the logistic way also, this technology has really helped. And as far as the Hazira facilities are concerned, we have got a captive port adjacent to the plant, and that helps in the logistics. And Hazira has got, you say, very unique in the sense that it has got 3 iron making routes. That is your Midrex, your blast furnace, and the Corex. All the 3 kinds of iron making routes are available in a single location. And it gives wide flexibility to use the raw material to your advantage. Then you come to the steel. You have electric arc furnace, you have Konark process. That also gives lot of flexibility. Earlier, when you used to talk about Mr. Banerjee was saying that LD converter. LD converter is definitely there. It is the process which is used in, even Tata Steel use LD converters. But going forward, the Konark process, which is the latest technology which has been adopted by your Ispat Dolvi, that is JSW Dolvi, and here in MNS. Now, after that, after steel is made, you have caster, you have vertical casters. Why you went for, initially, if you see the technology, you had curve mold casters. Then subsequently, we went to vertical caster. The advantage of going from curve mold caster to the vertical caster is that the level of inclusions are reduced and you get a better quality of steel. Then you have hot strip mill. The hot strip mill we have, and if you see that almost 20-25 years back, you had the conventional route of hot strip mills. That is there with almost all the integrated steel manufacturers. But with time, they have gone to the compact strip process. The compact strip also gives better advantage in terms of the thickness that we can, the lower thickness that we can produce, and the dimensional accuracies. Then after the hot strip mill is over, then you have the cold rolling mill. Then cold rolling mill, the conventional cold rolling mill. Then you have a tandem cold rolling mill. Then your six-side reversible mill. Then after that you went for continuous annealing line. So these are all the technological advancements that has happened. And the question arises, why this technological advancement has happened? The only answer is that the repeated change in the customer's requirement. And the requirement is over a period of time, the requirement has become very stringent, not only with respect to the product level, product quality, with respect to dimensional accuracies, with respect to surface finish, in all aspects. So that has really compelled all the steel manufacturers to go for the better technology. And today I can confidently say that all the steel mills in India have the best of technology to produce steel as per the requirements of the customers. Now, the process which I have just explained today, it gives process flexibility like gas route and coal route. The gas route of productions of steel, the Midrex process uses gas route. Whenever gas is not there, then you can have the alternate route, that is the blast furnace route and the Corex route. So this gives lot of flexibility. Extensive distribution network, it is not only the manufacturing of the product, it also talks about the distribution and reaching to the last mile of the entire user chain. So that is through hypermarts and service centers spread all over the country for direct to use experience. Then widest product mix with pellets, HBI, that is hot briquetted iron, hot rolled, cold rolled, coated, color coated, heavy plates, pipes, fabricated structures. So endless. So when you talk about the flat, you have the entire range of products that is currently available and it can meet the customer requirements. Now, when we are focusing on technology and over a period of time, the customer's taste, customer requirement has changed. The steel making, the casting, that has really undergone a lot of changes. A lot of changes have happened with respect to the various processes, and today is the result that what we are getting. This is just basic, simple example of a process that steel making and casting I've just shown, because this talks about the various aspects and which are the stages that are important and where we can get what kind of quality, how the quality is controlled at various stages. As far as the entire flat product is concerned, we have cold roll, hot dip galvanized, color coated, plates and pipes. I'm not going to details of the entire product range. Now, I'll just try to focus on the application part, why do you produce the different grades? When you talk about the steel grades, as you know that the construction infrastructure constitutes almost 62% of its total requirements, then each product has got specific requirements based on which the steel is designed, and accordingly you have the technology to produce the steel to meet the customer requirements. Various grades of steels are being used in the various applications. If you talk about the crash barriers, the steel and steel concrete composite bridges. Mr. Susim Banerjee is there. Instack has done a tremendous work on this steel and steel concrete composites, where it has, if you talk about the life cycle cost analysis, the steel concrete composites have a better chance, and it can use. It is a very compact product. At the same time, it can really help in increasing steel usage in the country. The similar uses are there in various sectors. Steel in rural infrastructure, in fact, rural sector is growing at very fast rate, and in fact, a lot of storage grain silos, you have farming equipments, housing for all. So there is an n number of requirements that are coming up where the steel is used and with a better quality. Now, I'll just give a typical example how the steel is designed. Say, for example, you talk about the line pipe, which is used for both sour and water, sour and non-sour applications. The basic important requirement based on the applications. If you talk about the line pipes, it requires resistance to hydrogen-induced cracking. It requires soft reduction, that is metallurgical soundness, means it still should be very good quality. The surface has to be excellent. It should have good weldability. It should have resistance to lamellar tearing. So when you want so many applications, so many requirements for a particular product, then how do you design a steel? That steel has to be designed. So that means your technology has to support the requirements. Unless you have a good technology, you will not be able to produce steel for the kind of applications that I'm discussing today. Same is the logic with the wind tower segments. That is the steel that is used in the wind towers. I'm not going to details and talk about the boilers and pressure vessels. Talk about the boilers and pressure vessels. The kind of steel that is being used today, it is and going forward, it will have n number of applications. And today it requires, believe me, it requires a lot of efforts in designing steels, and your technology has to support. And today, almost all the industries have the facilities. You talk about the yellow goods sectors, today 100% steel is localized. There is not a single steel which is, we have the capability to produce all kind of steels that is required for the entire segment. You talk about automotive steels, your chassis, how the strength level has gone. I'm just giving an example of chassis. Few years back, the strength level of chassis frames, that the steel that was used is yield strength of 460 megapascal. But today, it has changed to almost 700 megapascal. And when you change the strength level from 460 to 700, then definitely that requires your technology, your mill has to be capable enough to roll high strength steels. Then you need to have the steel making, all the downward facilities, not only, all upward facilities, not only upward, upstream facilities, your downstream facilities, that you need to process the steel, high strength steels at our service centers. So that is the kind of challenges that the steel mills have faced over a period of time. But today, all of us are confident and can supply steel as per the requirements. Same is the case of wear resistant steels. These steels are used in various applications. That is what we have branded it as Rockstar. Your Armor Pro, the armor grades of steels that are being currently used for defense applications. As you all know, the government is giving a lot of importance, emphasis on the defense. I mean, a lot of steel was being imported, but today the steel is going to be indigenized. And in fact, yesterday's newspaper, if you see that Midani has started producing this bulletproof jackets, and the steel which is going to be produced, we have the capability to produce that kind of steel. So this is something, this is a localization of all the steels that is required for the country. As far as MLS is concerned, all the products that we have branded, it's a Borostar, which is being used in the passenger vehicle segments. Tough Max, it is used in the tipper bodies and the chassis, the frames. Armor Pro, that is in the armor grades of steels. The Rockstars, that is the wear and abrasion resistant steels. So that is in the yellow goods segment, the steels are used. So these are steels that are being used. Now coming to the projects, like how the steel, all of us know that Rohtang Tunnel, Dola Sadia Breeze, Chenab Breeze, Bogeyville Breeze, but we should understand that Rohtang Tunnel is world's highest road tunnel. Dola Sadia Bridge is India's longest bridge. Chenab Bridge is world's highest rail bridge. Bogeyville Bridge, India's longest rail tram bridge. So this steel we have produced and we have supplied. So we should be proud of this. As an Indian citizen, we should be proud that yes, the domestic steel have been used to make world standard bridges. There are different prestigious projects that which we have already made, and the steel has been used for metros. You talk about offshore platforms. You talk about the steel that is used in the quench tempered facilities for the Istanbul projects. So various applications that steel have been used. Now, one more thing, this is the defense, all the steels that is, and it is the only domestic mill to be approved source for special steel for Indian defense. So today we are capable of supplying steel for battle tanks, armor vehicles, then battle tanks, then the naval ships. So all these grades of steel that we are producing and we are supplying to the customers, that is only objective to meet the end product requirements, and how we can make our technology better to meet this kind of requirements. Just last Friday, we had a meeting with Ministry of Steel, where Additional Secretary Srimati Rasika Chaube was conducting. And there the main point which was emphasized was that today the steel that is being imported for automotive applications, how it can be localized, and what are the various ways by which we can localize all these steels. Today, most of the automotive OEMs, they have achieved almost close to 98 to 99% of the steel localizations, but still to achieve 100%, there is a scope. So the objective is to have 100% localization, and having an Atmanirbhar Bharat, we need to really focus on the end product requirement, and accordingly the technology has to be in line with the end product requirement. This is definitely, it has to go hand in hand. Thank you.
So Now we have a small video, very short video by by corporate office of SAIL. This is the first part. We will have another 2 parts. So the video, please. First video.
आन बान शान करते हैं राष्ट्र निर्माण। हम हैं स्टील अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया, सशक्त भारत, फौलादी इस्पात। तकनीकी महारत से ढला मैं हूं हिंदुस्तान का इस्पात। सेल स्टील, सर्वोत्तम स्टील। मैं हूं बड़े डैम की जान, मेगा सिटी का प्राण। सेल टीएमटी सरिया, पकड़ मजबूत, ताकत भरपूर।
Now our second panelist is Dr. Ramin Datta, another close friend of mine. We work together in SAIL. Dr. Datta graduated from B College Shibpur and obtained his PhD in Material Science from IIT Delhi. Dr. Datta joined RDCIS SAIL and served in various capacities as head RDCIS Rourkela and Bokaro Center, and he superannuated as General Manager, Steel and Refractory. Presently, Dr. Datta is working as a consultant to Steel Research and Technology Mission of India, SRTMI. Dr. Datta is a prolific writer, publication in national and international journals, and 22 patents to its credit. He is the recipient of Metallurgist of the Year Award from the Ministry of Steel, Government of India, O.P. Jindal Award by Institute of Metals, Metallurgy and Material Science Gold Medal, SAIL Gold Medal, Institute of Engineers. Dr. Datta is also a life member of Indian Institute of Metals. So with these words, I will request Dr. Datta to start his presentation. Dr. Datta, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Absolutely clear.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sushim Banerjee, for the nice introduction. And I would like to thank Mr. Mahanti and Arjun Chatterjee for the invitation as a panelist today. Now, as you all know, steel production, India is the second largest steel producer in the world, at around 111 million tons of production. It contributes to about 2% of the GDP, and the per capita consumption of steel is about 74 kgs as compared to a world average of 225 kgs. So the opportunity is there in India as a developing country to increase its steel production and consumption in the coming years. And I will be talking to you about the long product story. Now, as per the National Steel Policy 2017, India is slated to increase its production capacity to 300 million tons, which will lead to a per capita consumption of about 160 kgs. So there will be, in the next 10 years, by 2030, that approximately to about 150 million tons of additional production of steel. Now let us go into the long product sector, and the construction and the infrastructure sector is the major consumer of steel of long products. And the contribution of construction and infrastructure sector is about 68%, out of which 43% is from the construction sector and 25% is from the infrastructure sector. Apart from that, about 22% of steel is consumed in the engineering sector, 9% is consumed by the automobile sector, and 1% is by the defense sector. So this is the consumption of steel or the demand of steel in India presently. Now out of this 68% of consumption in the construction and infrastructure sector, the major consumption is through government initiatives, and and these different types of government programs are like your Prime Minister Awas Yojana, Swachh Bharat, sanitation programs, water and sanitation, building of bridges and highways, stadiums, railways, and so on and so forth. Now, according to the National Infrastructure Pipeline, it envisages that 111 lakh crore of rupees will be spent in the next 5 years in programs such as this Prime Minister Awas Yojana, Swachh Bharat, water and sanitation, as well as in building of a power capacity in India, solar energy capacities in India, digitalization. All these activities together is 111 crores. And in the long product sector, the major consumption will be in the following. One is the Prime Minister Awas Yojana. Here, basically, 112 lakh of houses are under construction. And out of this 112 lakh of houses, 60 lakh houses have already been grounded and work is under progress. 32 lakh houses have already been delivered to the beneficiaries. And the total investment under this program is about 6.13 lakh crores. And the total consumption of steel is of the order of 13 million tons, out of which around 4 lakh tons have already been consumed. So in the next 2 or 3 years, we will see 9 lakh tons of constructional materials which will be used for the Prime Minister PMAY program. Now let us see the civil aviation program, because these are the major areas where a lot of constructional steels and infrastructural steels will be consumed. In the civil aviation sector, 100 new airports are likely to be built up in the next 10 years. And these new airports will be based on not on the traditional RCC designs, but on steel intensive construction design. I shall come into the basics of steel intensive construction after some time. Now, apart from this, 2 new airports are being planned at Delhi, at Jewar, and one at Mumbai, in Navi Mumbai. And adequate expansions are there also in terms of the hangars, cargo space, MOS, etc. So the huge amount of steel will be required in the next 10 years in the civil aviation sector. Now let us move into another major consumer of steel, that is the metros. In the metros, 700 kilometers of network is already existing today. Metro network exists in 17 cities. Apart from that, another 900 kilometers of network will be added in the next 5-6 years. And this will basically cover not only 17 cities, but 10 additional cities. So it will be in 27 cities. Total amount of metro network will be 700 plus 900, that is 1600 kilometers. And in Delhi, we are having this phase 4 construction program right now. And over here, 6.7 lakh tons of steel is being used, mostly constructional and rail steel. Out of 6.7 lakh of TNT rebars are used for the construction, and 30,000 tons of head-hardened rails will be used for the rail tracks. So huge amount of consumption is envisaged in the metro network also. Achha. The other major activity is in the railways, where the bullet train, 500 kilometers of track is being laid from Ahmedabad to Mumbai, and this involves the creation of along the distance 27 steel bridges. 2.18 kilometers will be underground, and 1.13 kilometers of this bullet train network will be undersea. So it's a huge mechanical engineering, structural engineering feat that we are going to see in the next 3-4 years. Now, with this as a brief outline of the demand and consumption of steel in the next 5-6 years in the construction and infrastructure segment, I shall basically now talk about the major types of steel that are used in the construction and infrastructure segment. Now, prior to early 90s, CTD, cold twisted deformed rebars or taut steel rebars were used for RCC constructions of buildings and structures. In the early 90s, a new process called TNT process came in India and revolutionized the production of steels with high ductility and toughness values. The TNT process was introduced first at Durgapur steel plants and a year later at Bhilai steel plant. And this involved the Thermex process of TNT rebar production. Now, the major advantages of TNT rebars over the CTD or taut steel is higher ductility, lower carbon content, so the toughness is better, low carbon equivalent, so the weldability is better, and the bendability and is also better. The other benefit is that because you are not cold twisting the material, so basically the seismic resistance of this material is much superior to the CTD rebars. Now the demand of TNT, so TNT rebars started in India sometimes in early 90s, and today it has phased out the old CTD rebars and taut steel, and it is almost 100% used today in RCC construction, in buildings and structures. Now the demand of TNT rebars has almost more than doubled in the last 10 years. In 2011-12, the demand of a consumption of TNT rebars was of the order of 21.77 million tons. And in 2020-21, it is expected demand is about 41.82 million tons. So it is roughly double of 21 million tons. And these TNT rebars are available today of 3 types. They are the plain TNT, the ductile TNT, and the seismic resistant TNT. So there are 3 types of TNT that are available today. Now the TNT rebars are produced through 3 commercially established processes, which are Thermex, Temcor, and Stelmore. So these are the 3 processes which have been used by the major TNT producers in India, and they're producing the TNT rebars in these various types, ductile, plain, and seismic resistant. Now, the TNT process, whether it is Temcor, Thermex, or Stelmore, is basically dependent on the heat treatment process that is involved in this. What happens is the TMT bars, after it is rolled, it passes through a series of water cooling jackets. And in the process, the hot TMT bars gets quenched. The surface of the TMT bars gets quenched and forms martensite. So the rim forms martensite. Now, when the TMT bars emerges out of the cooling jackets, what happens is the hot core basically leads to heat flow from the hot core to the surface. And this leads to tempering of the martensite. So tempered martensite forms in the outer layers of the TMT bar, and the hot core basically softens and transforms into ferrite and pearlite. So the TMT bars have a very unique structure of a tempered martensitic rim and a ferrite pearlite core. The tempered martensitic rim provides the strength to the TMT rebars, while the ferrite and pearlite cores provides the ductility and the impact toughness properties, bendability to the TMT rebars. So you have a unique combination of microstructure and a unique combination of properties in the TMT rebars through this process. Now, TMT rebars, the different types of TMT rebars that are available today can be classified into three strength levels: Fe415, Fe500, Fe550, Fe600. So these are the types of TMT rebars that are available today in this thing. Now, and these are basically available in plain TMT form, in ductile form, and in seismic resistant form. In seismic resistant form, we have two types. Fe400, 415S, we call it. S stands for seismic, and Fe500S. These are the two types of seismic resistant TMT rebars that are commercially available today. Ductile TMT rebars are available in Fe415, 500, and 550 grades. Whereas the plain TMT rebars are available in all the four grades: Fe415, 500, 550, and 600 grades. Now, let me talk about the corrosion-resistant TMTs. Now you know that India can be divided into different zones in terms of its susceptibility to corrosion, and there are 5 zones. These are basically negligible corrosion zone, that is zone 1. Then is basically moderate corrosion. Then severe corrosion and extremely severe corrosion. So these are the types of corrosion zones. Now, the coastal zones are basically in the severe and extremely severe corrosion zones. And over here, basically, you need a corrosion-resistant TMT rebars to minimize the effect of the environment on the deterioration of these strengthening materials, that is the TMT rebars, as a function of time. Now, these corrosion-resistant TMT rebars are basically alloyed with alloying elements like copper and chromium. The copper is a atmospheric corrosion-resistant material which forms a passive layer over the surface and protects it from the ingress of moisture and oxygen. And chromium is basically a marine corrosion-resistant material which basically protect the material from moisture and basically from the seawater and other things to which the corrosion rebars may come into contact. Now, various types of tests are available to determine the corrosion resistance properties of a TMT rebars. These are basically salt spray type, accelerated salt spray type testing, potentiometer, potentiodynamic testing, and field tests where the steel bars are exposed in the coastal zones for more than 2-3 years, and the corrosion resistance properties of these rebars are determined. Now, based on these tests, it has been found that these corrosion-resistant TMT rebars have a CRI, which is called the corrosion resistance index of 1.7 to 1.8 times that of a plain TMT rebar. So the corrosion resistance properties of these rebars or the life of these rebars in coastal regions is about 1.7 to 1.8 times better than that of a plain TMT rebar. Now, let me talk about the seismic resistant TMT rebars. Now, in order to minimize damage of rebars, RCC structured in the event of an earthquake, we have developed this seismic resistant or earthquake resistant TMT rebars. And the earthquake resistance or seismic resistance properties are basically dependent on the ability of these rebars to absorb the energy that is generated during an earthquake, to absorb it within the material without failure. That is, this energy should be absorbed without the material reaching its ultimate tensile strength. Once it reaches the ultimate tensile strength, the necking of the member starts, and on necking, basically after necking, the material basically fails and the building collapses. So all the energy should be stored up to the UTS level of the steel. So basically, this is reflected by the area under the stress strain curve. The area under the stress strain curve, tensile stress strain curve, the area under the stress strain curve can be divided into two parts. One is the elastic energy part, and one is the plastic energy part. Okay, and the elastic and this together, elastic energy and the plastic energy together of a material should be higher, should be more than the energy that is generated through the earthquake. Then only the members and the building will be stable. Now, what are the factors that contribute to better seismic resistance of a steel? These are basically, one is the higher yield strength. This increases the elastic limit of the steel. The second is the yield point elongation. As higher the yield point elongation, better is the capacity of the material to accommodate the elastic stresses. Then a high UTS by YS ratio. This improves the higher plastic accommodation capacity of the TMT rebar. And finally, a higher elongation of total elongation and uniform elongation of the steel bar. And this also improves the plastic accommodation capacity. So these are the factors that contribute to that, and you have to design your steel to improve these properties in your TMT rebars. And the seismic resistant TMT rebars that we are producing today and are commercially available today have a UTS by YS ratio. Can you hear me? Hello? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you. Hello.
Okay, fine. So the seismic resistant TMT rebars that are commercially available today in the grades of Fe415S and Fe500S have a UTS by YS ratio of 1.25 minimum. And it has a uniform elongation of 10% and 8% respectively for Fe415S and Fe500S. The elongation levels are respectively 20% and 18% respectively. Okay, so now I shall move into steel intensive construction. Now, steel intensive construction is a very new idea in India. The awareness level is very less, but it is extensively used in foreign countries, especially Japan, USA, and Europe. And the major inherent advantages of steel intensive constructions are better space utilization, larger spans, less construction time, less on-site construction, better seismic resistance of these steels, and lower dead load. The entire structure has a lower dead load, so the active load in the case of bridges will be much more. And finally, lower life cycle cost. Lower life cycle cost, though the upfront cost is slightly higher, about 10 to 20% more. So these are the basic advantages, and some buildings and structures are already there in the metros, but they are very few in number, and the popularity of this steel intensive construction needs to be promoted in a big way across the country through a national mechanism platform, which is necessary. Otherwise, it will be basically in ones and twos, and finally, it will not be a very popular thing in the future. Now in Japan, if I can give you some facts and figures about out of the bridges that are existing in Japan, 80% of the bridges are based on steel intensive construction, and 20% are based on RCC. In terms of buildings, and 38% are based on steel intensive construction, 42% are wooden, and 20% are based on RCC. Now the transformation from RCC to Japan to steel intensive in Japan has been piloted or driven by a society called JSSC, Japanese Society for Steel Construction. It is a society involved in comprising a number of major manufacturers and construction companies involved in construction of bridges, buildings, and other things. They have joined together to form this society, and they have been instrumental in basically promoting steel intensive construction over there. And the major activities they have piloted are design manuals, guidebooks, relevant codes and provisions in the Japanese GI specifications, skill training modules, skill development programs, awareness programs for transformation or to the transfer to the technology user. So the entire gamut of activities are taken over by JSSC. And the steel production and the welding technology is basically developed to JFE steel, which basically produce the different types of grades that are required, along with the sections and sizes that will be required as mandated by the design codes and provisions. So basically, we need to have a similar sort of a strategy in India to design and develop steel intensive construction in India. And for this, we have to have maybe major steel manufacturers and construction agencies like L&T and other construction agencies to come hand in hand with INSDAG, Institute of Steel Development and Growth, and MECON together to design and develop the capacity building in terms of design of guidebooks and design manuals. They should be instrumental also for introduction of codes and provision specifications through interaction with BIS. They should also be involved in conducting workshops and seminars to disseminate this technology, advantage and benefits, provide a cost analysis of modules of buildings of different sizes and bridges, and do the cost analysis vis-a-vis RCC structures, and present this to the builders and structural engineers and architects, so that it is seen to them that this provides you in the long run not only a durable, better seismic resistance steel, but it also provides you to a longer span of time, lesser construction time, and the benefits of better seismic resistance and so on and so forth. We have the steel manufacturers like SAIL, Tata Steel, JSW should come together under the umbrella probably of SRTMI. It should be the platform to facilitate this program, and they should be instrumental in developing and designing the different types of steels in the different section sizes that will be required for steel intensive construction. And this should be available through the networks of the steel industries in the nooks and corners all across the country. And major fabrication houses and manufacturing houses should be made available at different metros and different areas of parts of the country, so that these steels can be processed into prefabricated, pre-engineered components, which can be transferred and transported to the sites. So this is basically, in a nutshell, the way forward for promoting steel design construction in our country in the forward, and increasing the steel usage in buildings, construction, and infrastructure segments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Datta. That was a very exhaustive analysis. And although I didn't have time to sum up what Satyajit has said earlier, Satyajit also to the various product areas, and particularly the manner in product made restructured plant and the facilities that the plant is having. It's an excellent global standard, equivalent to global standard, the facilities that they are having. And I'm sure Indian Steel will be much benefited by the different product profiles, particularly in the downstream areas of flat products by AM/NS in the coming years. Now, Dr. Datta has much elaborated the long product in TMT, the elastic energy and the plastic energy, and what are the seismic resistance grade that are required, which are already there in IS 1786 ductile grade. And he has also mentioned about the variation in the UTS-YS ratio and the elongation. The elongation, there is a slight more and less flexibility. Now, on the other hand, Dr. Datta has taken steel intensive construction, and particularly citing the case of the Japan Institute, the Society for Steel Construction, which is a very good idea. In fact, I would also draw the attention of Dr. Datta about construction. Now UK is having nearly about 75% of their using steel. Similar case in Japan. Of course, Japan, the condition of Japan, they are much more along with SRTMI can get the way forward for more steel intensive construction, not only in building, but also in infrastructure. Sure, ISR would be summarizing all good recommendations that are us, and we will send it to the Ministry of State to make it further forward. Now, with these words, sale video now, the 3 videos together, 30 seconds. Can we have this?
Yes.
आन बान शान करते हैं राष्ट्र निर्माण, हम हैं स्टील अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया, सशक्त भारत, फौलादी इस्पात। तकनीकी महारत से ढला मैं हूं हिंदुस्तान का इस्पात, सेल स्टील, सर्वोत्तम स्टील। मैं हूं बड़े डैम की जान, मेगा सिटी का प्राण, सेल टीएमटी सरिया, पकड़ मजबूत, ताकत भरपूर।
Our next panelist is Mr. Shushank Patra, Senior Vice President, Technical Service and Technology, SMS India. Mr. Patra, please.
No, Mr. Patra is not here.
Oh. Mr. Patel is here, Nagesh Patel.
No, Mr. Arijit Biswas is here instead of Mr.
Arijit
Patel.
Biswas. Okay. So, Arijit Biswas, should I call him now?
Yes.
So, Mr. Biswas is responsible for marketing of IMS products, IMS Mako products in India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Middle East, and some parts of Africa. And he is also responsible for building customer relations. So, Mr. Arijit Biswas, please start your presentation.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank ISR and Mr. Banerjee for giving me an opportunity to speak about my company and its innovative products that are being used in the steel industry. I would like to share one small presentation highlighting the details of the innovative products that IMS is bringing. Just a moment. So today I will be speaking about the company IMS System GmbH, who are the world leader in measuring systems for metal industry, particularly steel and aluminum, and also brief about its presence in India. Okay, so IMS is located in a place called Heiligenhaus in Germany. It's around 30 kilometers from Düsseldorf airport. So it's around a 40 years old company who are manufacturing various types of gauges used for the steel industry, steel, aluminum, and other metal industry. So in fact, IMS is already pioneer in thickness gauges, profile gauges for hot mill or cold mill in the steel and aluminum industry. But today I will speak more about some other innovative products which IMS has brought into the market, which normally is not being used still in the Indian market. So in India, we have IMS have formed a joint venture with Mako Corporation, Calcutta. And the purpose of this joint venture, it was formed in 2005. And the main purpose was to support the IMS products in Indian steel industry. So in presently, we are having a very good setup in India with a strong sales and marketing team who are promoting the products. And also we are maintaining a strong spare parts stock so that the same can be given to customers when they are in the need. And the most important part is we have a very strong service team where all the engineers have been trained from IMS Germany, and they are now responsible for all the commissioning, installations, maintenance, and breakdown calls for all the IMS products. And we also have a 24/7 online and telephonic support, which our service engineers are always ready to help with. So to give the product overview of IMS, the most basic or important the products are from the radiometric measurements, where IMS is producing gauges for thickness measurement, that is center line thickness for the AGC. And then we have thickness profile, that is simultaneously thickness measurement across the width of the strip or the coil, where we get the profile, the edge drop, the wedge, the crown, all the strip details, all the entire profile. Then we have some special systems for edge drop, particularly for the cold mills. And then we are also having this coating thickness, coating weight measurement for zinc, aluminum, zinc iron. So we are able to measure all the coating materials and also the color coating lines to measure the paint coating. And the other important product, which unfortunately is not that much used in India, is the tube thickness and profile measurement for the seamless tube industry. But this product is exclusively used all around the world. The next category of product is the electroacoustic and magnetics product. The one product which I will also show today is the internal defect detection, which is being recently developed by IMS, and width measurement with the help of radar. This application is mostly suitable for roughing mill in hot strip mill, where you have a lot of steam and steam coming out in the roughing mill, steam and water, with the help of which the normal stereoscopic width gauge sometimes causes problem in measurement. So here we can use the radar measurement for the measurement of width. And then we have this optical measurement, where we are going with thickness. Then we are having this width, shape, and diameter, then position, the flatness, and we have this hole detection, pinhole detection, and hot metal detector. And recently, IMS has also come up with the force measurement, that is the strip tensiometer, and it's based on the principle of the load cells which are being used. For the control system, we are not that much into the control system, but for some small mills or small applications, we are able to do the strip thickness AGC and the flatness AGC and also the coating control. Then we have this, our quality management system, where we can archive all the data, means we can connect all our system into this data management, that is we called as Mavinet Q, where we can store all data related to each and every aspect of the coil for long-term evaluation or quality evaluation. So the first product which I will show you is it's all the products are new product, and the first product which I will show is the multi-channel profile gauge system for cold strip. So normally we have seen that we in hot strip mill, exit of the hot strip mill, we have the gauges installed for the multi-channel profile gauge, what we call in almost all the hot strip mills today in India. But as of now, we don't see much of this profile measurement for a cold strip mill. So IMS has also come up with this product of multi-channel profile measurement of cold strip mill. That is where we can measure the strip thickness in strip center line, and then we can measure simultaneously thickness cross profile across the width of the strip. With the help of that, we are able to give you the wedge, crown, the strip width, and with the help of a laser speed velocity meter, we are also able to get strip speed. So here we are using 2 X-ray tubes and an array of detectors in the bottom. And we are also using 2 laser line and a camera to detect the width of the strip. The other development from IMS is the surface inspection system for cold rolled strip. So here also we are using this camera and LED light illumination to find out the defects in the cold strip. And in the screen you can see the achievable resolution that we are able to get. The difference or advantage of this surface inspection system by IMS is, here we have developed this in a C-frame. Most of the surface inspection systems are fixed in nature in the line. So here it's installed in a C-frame. So in case of a maintenance or any strip breakage, it's much easier to get the whole system out, and we can do the maintenance and cleaning or any problems if we are facing. So it's much more easier to diagnose. So the measurement tasks that is being done is that automated detection and classification of defects, including its position and geometrical features, and detection of defects during production, and also warning for major defects. And this helps in replacing the manual inspection that has been done by many plants. The next product is the coil winding quality measurement. So this is also a laser-based system, and it's using the laser triangulation method to find out the coil winding offset in hot strip mill or cold mill. And we are also able to measure the coil outer diameter, the coil eye diameter, and it detects the collapsed coil or is the coil has been wounded properly or not. So here you can see one screen which shows the profile of how the coil has been rolled. It's in a synchronization or not. So, so as I told, this also is comes with the gauge is coming with the laser, and we are also having a cooling water unit for it to keep things cool for the hot strip mill. And we also certified some calibration standard to check the system if it's working properly or not. So the benefits we are getting is that we are able to detect the coil's winding quality without any contact. It is independent of material temperature, that is, we can use it in hot as well as cold oil, and we can have the full details on logging of the coil in our system, and the customer can decide that whether to process this further or not. So the next, which has been recently developed, is internal defect detection for cold rolled strip. At present, one protocol type is being installed in one plant in Germany, which is still it's under observation, but the results are coming very good. So here we can detect the automatic detection of inclusion and cell defects online at strip speeds up to 10 meters per second, and that is without contacting the material. This measurement system is based on electromagnetism and is applicable for a thickness range of 0.35 to 5.5 as on date. So due to this magnetization of the material, internal defects in the strip lead to the emission of magnetic field, which in turn are detected by the integrated center matrix. And then we have this image processing software, which classifies and visualizes the internal defects found. The next, another important and patented technology is the camera cluster system. Here we know that for width measurement in past or even now, we have been using two cameras to measure the width of the strip for the strip. But in this camera cluster technology, we are using this cluster of cameras. So, and each camera is from the diameter to diameter is situated at 20 mm distance. So one camera to one camera, it's just 20 mm. And these cameras are put in a cluster where we are putting 16 cameras together. So which is covering around 320 mm. So depending upon the width of the material, we decide the number of camera clusters that needs to be used. And then we are using this LED backlight, and because for the cold mill we need the light to illuminate the strip. This camera cluster technology systems are as on date only applicable for cold mill applications. So these are the measuring tasks which can be done with one system. This same camera cluster system can also again be put into the C-frame, and we are able to measure the width, hole, and edge crack with the one single system. By using a different backlight, a more powerful backlight, and decreasing the pass line, this technology we are also using to determine the pinhole. The other important application is the strip slit width. Since we are using camera for each 20 mm and we are measuring each portion of the, we are seeing each portion of the strip. So we are able to give you the online strip slit width. So each slit width we are able to measure online. and we can give you we are able to give you the results. The same system is also used for the camber measurement, and for the same system is also used for flatness measurement in CGL or CGL lines where the tension is less. And this CCS systems we are also using to measure the sheet geometry. So each sheet in the slitting line we are able to measure the strip geometry by providing the shape of the strip and also providing the diagonal measurement of the strip. And for long products, IMS have also come up in the last 3-4 years to measure the billet contour, that is from the which is normally installed at the caster exit, where we are able to measure the contour of the billet. So here we are able to measure the outline contour and length, and optionally we can measure the volume and mass. And with the help of our measurements, we can are able to give you the exact cutting length for the shears. The principle of measurement remains the same, that is the laser triangulation, and but we are using the line lasers and area camera to find out the contour of the these billets. All the systems are customized, so we are able to customize the system depending upon the application. And in this system, we are also able to integrate temperature and speed gauge to measure the temperature as well as the length of the billet. And optionally, we are also able to measure volume and weight. So this is a typical system. We are able to do it single strand as well as double strand system. The whole O-frame is water cooled and air cooled, so the temperature is not at all a problem. And the major advantage is that the key components, that is the camera or the lasers, are not rotating, which means it's less maintenance and more life and reliability. And this whole frame, it can be also moved vertically, that is up and down, to adjust the billet position or adjust the billet diameter so that the billet passes through the center of this system. So these are some of the examples where we can measure the profile of these long products. And as you can see, these are our valued customers. So all the major steel players and OEMs are exclusively using IMS systems in their mills. In the overseas customers, what we are looking, it's also that Middle East, the main the flat products are using our mills, and in Bangladesh also the major Abul Khair and PHP are having our gauges. Particularly in Hadid, it's now almost all the gauges they are slowly replacing with IMS. And that's it from me. Thank you.
I think this is a very good presentation because and it will improve the customer service by indigenous steel producers, because earlier, about 10 years back, there were frequent complaints from the customer about width variation, size variation, and so many other complaints. Even if the test certificate issued by the plant has confirmed all the problems, all the variations have been taken care of. Now the measurement equipments that IMS Mac done I see from your list of esteemed customers, almost all the major steel producers are your members. So I'm sure systems like you mentioned about multi-channel profile measuring system for strip, surface inspection system, oil winding quality measurement,
बड़ा unit है
internal defect detection for sear strip, and camera class for width measurement. Even in long products also you have mentioned for billets, particularly the strand billet contour measuring system and contour gauges for the long products. Long way in improving the in controlling the variations in widths, variation in thickness, and also the surface control measurement. Thank you, Arijit, for actually really there is a great scope in our country as only quality schemes, thanks to BIS and other organizations. But now, so far as the standard specifications are concerned, various points on the width variation, gauge variation, and these also can be well taken care of by the various measures. I'm really happy, and I'm sure the participants also will be very happy with your presentation. And this is a good source of, the quality improvement systems that all of us have been looking for. Now we have come to the almost the end of the session. There are two that if there is any question, we can take it up. Angan, is there any question?
Mr.
Or
Banerjee would
otherwise-
like to ask one question.
Yeah,
Mr.
please,
Banerjee,
please,
to ask one question. Mr. Arijit Biswas and one to Mr.
Sure.
So the
Go
first question is for Mr. Biswas, that when I saw they have got a lot of product for both long and flat,
Yes.
and you have some products which ABB is also offering to the Indian market and the global market. So I would like to know from them that what is the share of IMS Mako in terms of globally and also in the Indian market? Mr. Arijit.
See, for the hot strip mill market, I would say, particularly for this multi-channel profile gauge and thickness gauge in the finishing mill which is being used, it's almost 90%.
Arijit.
Yeah.
And I think
Now
you have stuff here. I think
Now you can hear?
No, I hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay. So in hot strip mill market, it's around, say, for the thickness and profile gauge, it's around, say, 90% to 92% market share in India. It's almost similar in around the world for the hot strip mill market. For the cold mill, it's around, say, I would say 50 or 60%. But all the tandem mills which are coming or which have come in the last 5-6 years, that is the PLTCMs. So all of them have gone with IMS gauges. But for the mixing mills, we still find some difficulties in price level. But for the long products, I think we don't have any, I think that quality aspect or other things like now that if you talk about the hot strip mills or the flat products, the surface inspection system as today is almost a must for all mills, which was not like that in say 10 years back. But in the long product, it's still not that much we have any success. But we have another product which is coming up very slowly is the online slab inspection system, the 3D slab inspection system. So that we have got some success with JSW and Tata and discussing some other places. But globally also, for cold mill, if you see, IMS is having around say 70 to 75% market share, and for the hot strip mill or hot mill segment, I think it's same 90%.
Thank you. Thank you. And for Mr. Mahapatra, you showed a slide that also making for the auto sector, the car industry.
Hello.
So you showed a slide
Yes.
where it showcases the car.
Yes.
Company are you looking at can you make Mercedes-Benz, BMW,
Mr. Mahdi, your voice is not clear. In fact, what I could make out from your question is, in fact, what I've understood is you are saying that I showed a presentation of a car in my slide. What I wanted to say is that the steel that is used for the car, that is the red portion, that is in the pillar, structural pillars, where the high strength steel is used, and that is our, this is one of our branded product is called Borostar. Borostar is, this is a hot forming uncoated CRCA, that is cold rolled steel, which is used for these applications. The beauty of this particular product is that when you are producing the cold rolling stage, that your yield strength of the material is around 540 megapascal, but when you hot form it and quench it and you make the component, the strength goes up to the level of 1300 to 1400 megapascal. So there is a tremendous increase in the strength level when you make the component and quench it. So this strength is primarily achieved during the quenching process. So that is how it is used, and most of the Indian companies today, like Volkswagen is using these high strength steels, and many other auto OEMs are also using such uncoated steels, and in fact coated also they're using for the similar kind of applications.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
One question is there from one of our attendee, Mr. George, to Mr. Ramin Datta. Hello. To Mr. Ramin Datta, does India government has planned to promote the production of TMT?
Which class? Which class TMT?
Q class TMT, nuclear quality steel based on ASME NCA 3800.
No, not yet. Not to my knowledge. This class of steel has not been discussed in the steel plant circle. That's the government. I don't think this has been in the agenda of the steel industries. It's a nuclear TMT rebar.
Yes, nuclear TMT real. Nuclear quality steel.
Nuclear quality TMT rebar.
Yes.
Can you explain what he wants?
He has written in this chat.
Okay. Not to my knowledge. We are not in the process of development.
But Dr. Ramin Datta,
Yes,
just to add, when can we bring in endless rolling in India? Because we don't have it in the long product segment. Yeah,
if endless rolling is there elsewhere, it is not there in India yet. And it has a lot of advantages actually. You basically weld two strips together, to slap together, and process it endlessly. So the productivity goes up by many folds. So I do not know when it will come, but any new mill that is coming up in Rourkela, for example, the hot strip mill that is coming up, probably I do not know, they may be having that. endless rolling facility? Maybe having.
No, the Rourkela hot strip mill is normal conventional hot strip.
Okay, okay. So do we have any mill with endless rolling in India?
Not yet.
No,
ESP has not come. CSP is there.
and, I don't think any mill in India doesn't have this endless rolling facilities.
No mill right now is having. Yeah, I think. There were some products like in hot strip mill, particularly it was I think JSW Ishpat, when Ishpat was, they got the strip processing by which, you know, the very thinner sizes of HR coil could be made available. And that time there was a issue that whether the CR mill will continue to produce inner gauge CR strip, because cost wise the product that is strip mill was way below compared to the CR strip. That problem is still there, and some customers, they are very much keen to use rolled 1.2 mm, even 1.15 mm strip in place of CR strip. But I think over the past 5 years or 7 years, taken care of so much, you know, thinner gauge HR coil are now available, so that CR strip is still very good that demand. Any other view on this, either Dr. Datta or Satyajit?
No, thinner gauge HR coil.
That is, you are right. You are right. It is thinner sections of 1.5 mm, 1.6 mm that is now being produced through strip mill. So earlier, Ispat was the first mill in India to commission CSP technology. But subsequently today, if you see all steel mills, MNS, Tata Steel, JSPL, they have this technology of that is CSP. So 1.5, 1.6 thickness is being produced on a regular basis from the CSP mill. So that's the reason why the cold rolling of 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 is also not being used, because that is substituted by the hot rolled coils of lower thicknesses. So that is the process. So that is the cost advantage to the users. So that is being used. That is being the regular practice everywhere.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, modern hot strip mills can go up to 1 millimeter thickness also. So, and the advantages are there that we can get out of this is that cold rolled products have the distinct advantage of having higher ductility because of the low carbon content, and better flexibility in terms of the annealing treatment that you give after the cold roll. These hot rolled products, by virtue of producing this with very low carbon, 0.0403 carbon, you can have similar hot ductility and toughness properties in those strips of 1 millimeter, and it can very well replace the cold rolled products at a much lower cost. So cost advantage is the primary factor for which hot products of thinner gauges are basically required in the market as a replacement for cold rolled sheets.
Because that shows in a broad way, it is not only the property of, you know, HR or CR strips or coil, but it is basically the influence the customer's decision. Is it true only for Indian market, or the global market also this trend is visible?
This is a global trend. This trend has come to India sometimes 10-15 years back, when a lot of customers were sourcing their material from foreign sources. thinner gauge of material. And then the question came, why can't we make it in India? So the hot strip mills that were available in India started producing in cable bridges, but there was a constraint because of the capability. So we could go up to 1.5, 1.6 millimeters. Below that, we could not go.
Okay. So another area, Mr. Mohanty, since you are there, I am also pointing it out because in the long and flat market, there is a interchangeability of the demand that is now are very much visible, particularly in the construction sector. The user segments or the designers are talking of using of more flat products, that is cold form structurals.
Okay.
This will be replacing some of the beams and joists demand of the long product market. So what is your view, Dr. Datta or Satyajit, if you can throw some light? This is a phenomena which I am observing that it will come, and maybe when this LGSF technology, that is light gauge steel frame technology, is quite popular in the flat product, entry into the construction market will be much more. What is your view?
Yeah, I will not be able to contribute much in this area. I don't have much idea about it. Mr. Mahapatra,
No, for this, even long products, I don't have much idea about the long product. I think you have some better views on this because subject better. So I think your views can be, you can give your views on this.
Okay, so this is the trend, you know, some of the inner. So Indian market, what I'm saying that Indian market, we always distinguish between long and flat, and long goes for construction, flat goes for, you know, high-end product. That typical distinction will not be there in another, next 5 years time. The way the consumer preferences are changing, it will be a very interesting scenario that will come up, and we will have more evidence so that to corroborate this, theory. Let us see how the market develops. So,
Mr. Banerjee, one question. Mr. Sushil Banerjee.
Can this video be shown?
Yes.
Can this video be shown? Okay. Should we call it a day, Mr. Mohanty?
Yes. So
interesting, discussion. All the panelists, these three panelists were really extremely good in their own papers, and also informed us many of the new developments that have taken place. Some of the old theories also. It was a learning platform for me, that to revise all those nitty-gritties of long and flat product market. But as I say, and I won't be surprised if another next 5 years time this market is totally much better in various interaction with any of the end users. You go to the estate developer, you go to the Ministry of Roadways, Highways, you go to railways, metro authorities, like Datta was. Everywhere is intent for high grade, high quality. So unless the long product category or the flat product category are able to cater to those changes, low weight, high performance. This will be the motto. You take any sector, that is the single method by which they are approaching. In fact, steel that way will be facing a lot of competition from other products like aluminium. Aluminium is standing on our way. Even there will be some substitution of long and flat product by stainless steel. LED SS bar, stainless steel bar is making inroads. And if this price differential can be taken care of, SS bar will be very much preferred by all the users because it is. Anyway, so these are the changes that one has to, maybe next time we meet on long and flat, we will have much more things to say. So thank you, Mr. Mahapatra, Dr. Datta, and thank you, Arijit Biswas, for interesting, presentation. And I must thank IIM NATO and, JSPL say come forward and support this event. Mr. Mohanty, as usual, he has taken a bold step of organizing these series of webinars. And one unique thing of Mr. Mohanty is that he has chosen in a very, very things. This can be a lot of new areas where steel is getting, penetrated, that can be talked of. And thank you, Angan, for all the support that you have given. And once again, thank all the panelists and all the participants who are here. And if you have got any question, just send a mail to Mr. Mohanty, who will be doing the needle. So with these words, I bring a closure to this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everybody, and we thank Mr. Sushim Banerjee for chairing this session. We thank you very much, Mr. Banerjee, and thank you all our participants, Mr. Santosh Mohanty, Mr. Satyajit Mohapatra, and Mr. Ramen Datta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.